Welcome to the Decentralized Opportunity Podcast, a weekly podcast discussing innovative ideas in business and technology from unconventional and often overlooked sources. I'm your host, Tanner Lytle, here with your other host.
Wyatt Carson. Tanner, I'm so excited for tonight. I say that every time we have an interview, but man, our guest tonight, she's a badass. Let's just be honest, okay? I'm super stoked to talk to this person. But, Tanner, let's not even waste it. Let's not banter. No one cares about us. Who are we talking to tonight?
Yep, so today we are joined by Rachel Fox. She is an entrepreneur, author, keynote speaker, transformational leader, consultant, coach, wife, and mother. Did I miss anything, Rachel? What else do you do that I didn't
Everything.
list there? Everything.
Um, I think you left out that I'm a pet owner.
Ooh.
You also left out the fact that I hide from my children in my vehicle, which is why I'm in here tonight. So yeah, and I think you also left out the fact that I'm secretly trying to become a stand-up comedian. We'll see how that works.
Oh, don't
You know
threaten
that
us.
that is something that I enjoy a lot. I've done it a couple times just here locally in town, and my mother-in-law had to scrub it from the internet because it was not deemed appropriate. So I
Oh.
enjoyed it, but I think I was the only one who enjoyed it.
Scrubbed from the internet. Well, anyways, Rachel, thank you
See.
so much for joining us. This is so cool. We appreciate the opportunity to talk to you. Um, we talked about this right as we were about to hit record, but super awkward question we have to ask everyone. Tell us about yourself, other than the fact that you have a million long title of mom, entrepreneur, all those stuff, which is amazing. Tell us about you. Who are you?
I'm just a human trying to navigate life. And I grew up in the South. I came here when I was 6 years old. I've been in Omaha ever since then. And in my adult life, I've done a lot of different things, traveled, trained, done project management. And now I find myself in my career. I have a master's degree. I'm in a doctorate degree program right now for strategic leadership. I've published my first book. I'm working on my second book. I have a nonprofit organization and I have 11 children. And let's see what else. I design websites on the side. So I'm an entrepreneur. I love to design websites, have a side business like that. But I'm also in corporate. I'm a senior manager of learning and development for a software company that helps people connect through buying and selling technology. So I hope I said that right. I'm still learning about what I do, what the company actually does, but I'm the senior manager of learning and development there. So that's a little bit about me, kind of a speed round about what I do, but I'm super, super passionate about people, empowering, especially girls and women. My story is, man, it's like a roller coaster. You have no idea, man, the stuff that I've been through and the winding road that I've been taking to get where I am today. It has not been easy.
Yeah, I would say, I mean, the first question that comes to mind to follow that up is, of course, how do you balance all these things? There's only 24 hours in a day. It feels like these days just whip past us, immediately. How do you do everything that you just talked about and what I kind of put into the intro?
You know, for me, I really have given up on the notion of work-life balance and all of those things because I think it's just a buzz phrase and it really sets an invisible bar that nobody can attain. And at the end of the day, you feel like a failure if you haven't perfectly balanced all the things in your life. Let me tell you right now, I face plant on a lot of things. Sometimes I miss my son's basketball game, or sometimes I have to pass on a meeting with somebody. And sometimes I have to say no because I'm just completely tapped out. And I thought about this as I embarked on the doctoral program that I'm in right now. As I thought about all the different things that I'm juggling right now, if I could handle one more thing. And I said to myself, if this load gets too heavy, I'm going to put it down. I'm simply going to put it down because at the end of the day, I'm doing the things that serve me so that I can serve others. And so if it's not in alignment with my passion or my purpose, my body's going to tell me. my life is going to tell me that it's out of sync, out of whack. I'm not going to love it. It's going to feel like work, and I'm going to have to put it down. So I've learned to listen to myself and to really prioritize the things that I know I'm good at. I know I love to operate around people. I know I love strategic leadership. I mean, who wouldn't want to get a doctorate degree in that? I mean, come on. That's like I do this. That's me. That's who I am. I just want Dr. Fox on the end of it because it's so sexy. But if it gets too heavy, I'm going to put it down, and that's with anything in life.
That's amazing. So my immediate question for you is, with all of these things that you have accomplished already, and I'm sure in your books and your speaking engagements, I'm sure we could probably spend 2 hours talking about this, but give me the elevator pitch of why is Rachel so driven? Why has Rachel accomplished all of these things that people dream of doing? People dream of writing a book, dream of starting a nonprofit, dream of working for, this awesome tech company, dream of getting into a doctorate program, and you are just knocking these things off left and right. Where does this come from? Where is your drive from, Rachel?
I will tell you that the path to my drive and my motivation came through extreme tragedy and pain. I was minding my own business, doing my corporate thing, and all of a sudden my life completely changed in 2016 when my daughter was diagnosed with a rare disease out of nowhere. Talk about one day you have your perfect little family, everybody's fine, and then the next day you are enthralled with diagnoses and EKGs and tubes and different things. And my corporate life um, just kind of vanished. I became a full time caregiver to a child who I didn't know would even recognize me. I had to feed her through a feeding tube. She lost the ability to speak and walk and talk on her own. And it just really showed me how fragile life was. And it was really eye opening for me, the things that had taken for granted. And I said to myself when she was going through, because she had multiple relapses, and I mean, to put into perspective the severity of her illness, she got Make a Wish. And those things are just not granted to good kids who just happen to get sick. Those are typically granted to kiddos that might be their last wish. And by the grace of God, she has recovered. She is 16 years old and she's a junior in high school looking forward to college. But that ordeal is what put the spark in me and said, if she makes it through this, there's no way that I'm going to just sit on my bum and just let life happen to me. I'm going to seize the moment. I'm going to seize the opportunity, and I'm going to seize the purpose in what it is that I was doing. And so that led me to step away from my corporate job because honestly, before that, I really didn't know what my purpose was. I just was going to work and doing my thing and collecting a paycheck and traveling around. And every once in a while there'd be sparks that would fly when I'd have one-on-one conversations with people, but I thought, whatever. I had thought about maybe starting my own consulting business, but I didn't think I had it in me. And then there was a moment where my daughter was in the hospital. I was also 6 weeks postpartum with one of my children. And my job was like, you've exhausted all your benefits. Business needs says you either need to come back to the office or resign. And my husband was like, if you're looking for a sign, I think this is it. And so I resigned and I did not look back. And I wanted to keep going. I didn't want to sit there and sulk because I knew that if I sat in my sorrow, I would be in a really dark place. So I had to keep busy. So I figured out what I needed to do to start a business. I started a consulting business, put some business cards together, and I launched a business.
That's wow. That's amazing. What a story. Holy cow. It must have been a terrifying time, but to turn that into this laundry list of these major accomplishments. Just amazing. Props to you.
Yeah,
Thank you.
thank you for sharing that, Rachel. That's super incredible. Just to touch on, you finding your purpose through all that too. Can you kind of describe like your process thinking, like figuring out exactly what that is? Because that's something that I feel like so many people today, me included, have issues really understanding like what should we strive for, what should we try.
Absolutely. When I'm talking to people, whether it be a group of individuals or one-on-one, the number one question that I always get hands down is how do you know what you're meant to do? How can you find your purpose? And I will tell you that there were breadcrumbs along the way all of my life of the things that I would eventually be doing. Even tracing back to when I was a child, I've always been involved in things like music and theater and being around people. Those types of things just kind of lit me up. And when I did my thing in corporate, when I was a project manager, it would be the people interactions that I would have when I was teaching them about software, when I was trying to help nurses overcome the fact that they did not get to use paper anymore. And I was handing them Kleenexes and things like that, and just kind of just walking them through their days and things like that, and getting personal with them. That is what set my soul on fire. When I would see someone and they needed to be coached along the way, those types of things kind of just lit that spark in me. And you find your passion when you start to naturally gravitate towards things that you're good at, things that you could stay up all night. I don't know if there's anybody else that might be listening or watching to this. If you've ever done any type of web design or coding, if you're really passionate about coding, you ain't going to sleep until that line of code gets done and checked out, until you commit that thing, until it's running like a well-oiled engine. And it doesn't matter if it's 1 or 2 o'clock in the morning. It's the same way if you're an artist. It's the same way if you're a writer. It's the same way if you're passionate about something. You're going to find your purpose in that. You're going to find so much fulfillment in that. And when you find that fulfillment, it is also going to help motivate and help others in what you do. So I think for me, it is just leaning into those things that I'm good at. I know that I'm good at deep down inside. I actually got that nudge from my husband to design websites. He was my first customer. I thought that I was like really bad at it. I was like, no, I can't do this. He's like, you're going to design my website. We were like paying other people who did shitty work, like hundreds of dollars to do website. And he was like, I'm not spending any more money. You're going to design my website. And I'm like, but I can't. But I did it. And I've revised it over the years, and it looks so much better than it did when I first started. But he was my first customer, and he pushed me out there. And I found that I really liked doing that. I also found that I really like interacting and motivating people. And here we are years later. I have a nonprofit. I have a business that design and I'm designing websites, and I'm empowering people in my community. So those three things are all intertwined, and they've been there all along.
I love it. Yeah, when you were talking, it reminded me of a quote actually Wyatt sent me this week, and it says, quote, "The gap between what your soul loves and the amount of time you spend doing it will be the size of your unhappiness." And
Hmm.
so, yeah, when you're saying you're just like you lean in and you start doing what feels right and what you enjoy doing and you want to spend all your time doing, oh my gosh, that's in perfect alignment with what we've been talking about and thinking and really the journey that we're taking right now.
And yeah, we're feeling it
Totally.
ourselves right now with this podcast, all the founders things we're doing. Um, Both Tanner and I, like, we leave some of these meetings like pacing in circles and energized, and let's just do it, let's go. And so I feel it, I love it. So Rachel, besides the fact that you're a rock star, we're all still human. So can you give us an example, a taste of some of the roadblocks or failures you've experienced in starting your business, your nonprofit, and what you learned from those?
Oh my God, yes. Okay, so when I first started my business, I so in the back of my mind, and I'm a recovering people pleaser. In the back of my mind, I thought my previous employer was going to be so shocked that I would dare step out while I'm in the hospital with my sick daughter and venture out and become an entrepreneur. And the fact that I cared about what they thought really meant I need to do some therapy, some inner work, because I really shouldn't have given a shit, but I did. So I kind of concealed the fact that I was starting my business. I kind of really hid it. I didn't shout it from the rooftops. I kind of snuck around in people's DMs and say, hey, I'm having a launch party. You should come and stuff like that. And I spent way too much money on the launch and the production of the thing. I invested way too much money on that. And I had a launch party, and like literally, I have I can count on my hands and feet how many people were there, and most of them were my kids. And I had a lot of food left over. And I didn't spend a lot of time on this strategy on how I would market myself, how I would set myself apart. And I did a lot of, after that, I felt like a complete failure. Like, I was like, damn, nobody showed up. Nobody did this. Um, and I just, and I also tried to do everything that I could do. Like, I'm good at this, I'm good at that, I'm good at this, I'm good at that, I'm good at business consulting, I'm good at marketing, I'm good at social media. And let me tell you something. I like social media, but I don't like I found out that I did not like managing other people's social media. So somebody would want to hire me to post for them, to write blogs for them and things like that. And I would just feel so depleted. At the end of the day, I would feel so drained, and it just did not measure up the amount I was getting compensated, or the amount that I thought that I was worth, versus the time that I was spending doing those things. So I really think that if I had it to do all over again, A, I wouldn't have spent so much money. B, I wouldn't have even given a shit about what anybody else thought. I would just really just go for it with everything I had. And then I would really think about what's the one thing that I can offer to this industry, the problem that I can solve in this industry, and just do that. And when I really just focused in on web design, because that's what I really like to do anyway. Even though I can design logos, I can do social media, I can write blog posts, I don't want to do that for other people. I found out I don't want to do that for other people, even though I could. You remember I said, like, if it's too heavy, put it down. That was the one thing. I went in guns a blazing, like, I'm going to give you all of my power. And then I just ended up being like this little depleted soul in the business industry, kind of a clusterfuck. So, excuse my language, but that's really what it was. Now, as I'm thinking right now, I really have a centralized focus. I help people show up their best online by designing or redesigning websites. And I have had some amazing clients along the way. So, yeah, I hope that answers your question.
Absolutely. When it comes to having like a for-profit company, starting your web design and doing business, and then having a nonprofit, there there's so many similarities, but there's also so many differences. What's kind of the challenges and differences that you face for doing one versus the other?
Well, the biggest difference is with a nonprofit, I don't get paid. And so, uh, with the way we're set up, we're a small nonprofit organization. We have a kitchen table of active board members who also have other professions. I have an outside profession, and we come together to be able to pour into the community. So it's really for me, um, when we need resources, we ask the community and they deliver each and every time. We don't take more than what we need. We don't have overhead because we don't have a huge office or anything like that. I have a small office at the AIM Exchange building, and they're so kind to let me use any of the conference rooms. And we have so many wonderful spaces in our community that will open up their doors to us. So if we have a workshop, a conference, a summit, or something like that, we partner with other organizations like that, like Metro Community College. We partner with them to do our coding clubs. We hop inside some of these high schools or some of the community centers, and we partner with them. So the difference is I'm building community with my nonprofit, and with my for profit, I'm trying to build, you know, more of a online community brand type of thing, and I want to get paid. So that's the difference. When I leave a conference, or when somebody asks me, hey, can you come speak to our group of girls? if they don't have the money to compensate me for that, I charge that to the game, because you know what the difference is? I'm planting seed, and those girls or those women, those things are going to sprout up later on. They're going to say, I remember 5 years ago when Rachel spoke to me and she said, she's been to all these things, and she went and got her bachelor's, her master's, her doctorate degree, and here I am today because she planted that seed in me. That is the ROI for my nonprofit, and the ROI for my for-profit business is, am I booking the clients? Are they paying me what I'm worth? Am I still relevant in this game? Because now with Chat GPT and everything like that, it's gonna put me out of business.
Don't get Tanner started on ChatGPT.
Oh my
Oh man.
gosh.
Wow. And I want to aside here, kind of a caveat to this is your community involvement. I appreciate that as a father of four daughters to have that kind of the outreach to empower those women, those future women as leaders, is so powerful. So thank you for that. And you do deserve to get paid for what you're doing. So props to you, man. That's
Yeah.
what a workload.
I would also love to
Thank
touch
you.
on one thing you said with how open the community is. You know, if you go out there and look, and so many times people feel very isolated, especially, living in Nebraska or being in a smaller area. But my goodness, if you just go out there and meet people and have the bravery to ask, you'd be amazed at
Hmm.
the doors that can open for you.
Oh man, that's the only barrier is between you and your ego, and being able to just go ahead and ask the question, "Hey, I need this space and I don't have any money to pay you." Okay. What are they going to do other than say no? And then you just go to somebody else. But we have a community, and I'm telling you, Omaha stands up. We really
Excellent.
do. We really do, each and every time.
Yeah.
And that's why I love being here.
Yeah, I agree. I love Omaha too. Tanner, you're missing out. Omaha rocks. No. So what? So you're working on your doctorate program. You're running this for profit, this nonprofit as well. What do you currently have in the fire? What are things you're working on right now? Can you share some of those things?
Oh gosh. So my second book is called A Woman Empowered, and this is really kind of a culmination of my master's degree capstone, which I wrote an ebook called A Woman Empowered. And I said, you know what, my publisher was like, this is really good. Let's publish it. So I'm going back through it and making it not so scholarly. And it's really all about listening to that voice within. And I call it, the spirit, listen to the spirit in order to lead you and guide you in every area of your life. So that's something that I'm working on, should be out probably in March or April. So that's really exciting. Aside from that, I am just really working and trying to learn the new field that I'm in connectivity. So what's really awesome about the job that I have, or the career that I have right now, is that I get to learn about all these different telecom, communication, how people are buying and selling, all these like internet, the near net, all these different terms I'm learning about, and I'm geeking out on it because I've never known it this way before. All I know is sometimes I pick up the phone, I have 5G, I have 4G, but now I am in like the matrix, and I'm starting to understand all these different things, and it's really blowing my mind. Um, and just investigating all these different things, and these things I want to share these with the girls and women that I talk to, and expose them to these things, because that's where the world is going. More advanced technology, artificial intelligence, and getting them exposed to those type of things. So it's going beyond coding, but getting them really immersed in technology. We've got some programs on the burner for You Go Girl, leadership development programs that we're working on. We're planning our annual summit that's coming up in the fall. So outside of that, and my doctorate degree program and being a mom, those are the things that I'm really cooking up right now. And also just really teasing out the market to see what do I want to do with my business. I've really been thinking about taking another leap of faith and really operationalizing a boot camp for women, that will allow them to learn how to design and build their own websites and flip it into their own business. So that's something I'm working on, right now. And what will happen is they will teach them how to build a framework for their own like freelance web design business. And let's say you go to them and they can't do it, or that it's too much for them. They can consult with somebody like me, and I'll just take a little bit, and then we both win. So want to take them through a boot camp like that, show them how to set up their own business, and see if they can be entrepreneurs too.
Yeah, fantastic. To circle back to what you were talking about with, writing your next book, can you kind of share the
Yeah.
story of how you got your original book published, actually making work that's worth publishing? Because it always feels like everybody has, the idea for the great next American novel, and, it just kind of sits as one page as a doc on your computer, but not really ever gets to that finish line.
Ah, the blessing of the pandemic. It will bring out so many things in a person. Some people had babies during a pandemic. Some people wrote books during a pandemic. Some people just found a whole new passion during isolation. And for me, my friends, I went through a process of really self-discovery and sitting with things that I had been running from. There's a blessing in being busy. Like I started my own business, stopped my nonprofit, but then when you're still and you're listening to your own thoughts and you're coming back to yourself, the things that you avoided for so long, that is the genesis of my book Back to Me. Just rediscovering who Rachel is and the lessons along the way that I've learned, um, and things that are kind of aha moments that I just wanted to share and put it out there. And I was approached by a publisher who thought, say, this is really great, and it was all she wrote from there.
That's amazing. As Tanner said, everyone has a book idea in their head, right?
Oh
And
yeah.
I'm assuming I don't have a book that it was hard to get it out there originally, but once things kind of fell in place, they just kind of start, domino effect, and that publisher contacts you, and that's so cool. But you
The
mentioned,
hardest part, the hardest part is just to get started.
oh, I bet.
Once you get started with writing, with putting things together, and stop over analyzing, get the shit on the page first and then go back and revise it and clean it up. So if anybody out there is writing or hesitating or thinking about writing, just get it out. Get it all out. It will not make sense. It will be bad. It will be really bad at first. But then go back to it and then there's some good stuff in there.
Great advice. You mentioned the pandemic, which
Mhm.
is which leads into another question we had about remote work. Do you work from home in your new career, your new field? Are you a remote worker?
I do. I am a
Okay.
remote worker, so the company that I work for is based out of Massachusetts. Um, And so, yeah, I work 100% remote, and that is one of the other blessings, if you will, from the pandemic. And I like it. I really
Good.
do.
That was going to be my question. Are you a pro? Are you a big fan of remote work? Like, for example, both
I
Tanner and I work from home, and I won't speak for Tanner. I freaking love it. Uh,
I will tell you this. I have been an advocate of work from home for years, even before the pandemic. I remember working at an organization where I had a baby. Obviously, that's a common theme with me because I have 11 kids. Um, I had a baby, and I remember asking because I didn't want to leave her. I was 6 weeks postpartum, and I was trying. They wanted me to come back to work, and I asked if I could work from home. And shortly after that, they let me go.
wow.
And it's amazing now. Um, and of course, they didn't say that was the reason they were downsizing and everything, and my position was eliminated. But we all know what's up. Um, but all that to say, now the world has embraced remote work. Because, I mean, if you are a shitty employee, you're going to be a shitty employee in the office, or you're going to be a shitty employee out of the office. If you're not pulling your weight, you're not going to be pulling your weight in the office, or you're not going to be pulling your weight at home doing remote work. And I think some corporations need to understand that the productivity is not tied to butts and seats. And I do know that sometimes the overhead of keeping a brick and mortar building open with no bodies in it is also bad. But then also think of other ways that you can leverage that space outside of having employees that could be, in some cases, more productive at home without the drive-bys, without all the stand-ups and all the different things. They could focus in on their work. We have to be a little bit more innovative and open to having hybrid work and hybrid opportunities, because you're missing out on a lot of great talent if you want to just stay to the things that have always been done. Because the way of our world is moving towards more hybrid work. Remote work is not going anywhere. It pulls communities and people together from all across the world. So I love it. I think it's here to stay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I share that sentiment. Absolutely.
Yeah, one of the things actually that kind of sparked, what Wyatt and I are doing now was a conversation I had actually during the AIM IT Emerging Leaders class, which is how I met Rachel, actually. But we got on that subject of remote work and finding talent. And because I'm located in McCook, which is 4 hours away from Omaha, um, you know, I I was the first person in our kind of our division or whatever that was remote. I was the first person outside of Omaha hired because of this was the new. They all worked from home now. They're like, why do we need to limit our pool? And we got on that discussion of like, are the teams going to need to go back and stuff like that? Not my company, but in the same class. And I was like, well, they would missed out on me, right? if they were only looking for local people. So now our whole idea of this decentralized opportunity is you can kind of live anywhere and work anywhere or start your own company or find a problem or solution, and you don't have to be in a big metro area or Silicon Valley or New York City or any of those things. So it's a really cool world. Um,
Man, so awesome.
yeah. I wanted to touch on, you talked about community a lot. What are your thoughts on ways to build a community? Whether it be for, like you were saying, like your personal stuff, your nonprofit, or even if you're trying to build a community around you, like your brand, your own company that you're starting.
Absolutely. So if we're talking about building community, um, it really starts with the things that you're passionate about, your purpose, and then finding your tribe within that, utilizing your voice, utilizing the tools that are at your fingertips, attending different conferences and meetings, sharing your message boldly, even if you might make a mistake, aligning with other people with similar goals and visions, learning from them. And you will then find people who will affix themselves to you. Can't tell you how many times I get emails and messages from people that are not even in Omaha who have heard of You Go Girl. I got reached out to by someone who's doing a foreign exchange program, and I went to go speak with the people there, and I thought, these kids do not even know me. They have no idea who I am. One of the young ladies who lives in, I think like Kiev or something like that, who lives in Kiev, she was like, I've heard of You Go Girl. I love what you do, because we're on social media, we're posting, we're spreading our message. We're small, but we're our message is big, and we've reached all the way to South Africa, to the girls and women there. You build community by developing a succinct message that people can grasp a hold to, and that gives them that hope, and they will align themselves to you. So I think that the notion, if you build it they will come, is not, it's not gone. That is so true. And it still holds true today. If you build a mission, if you stand by it with passion, the people will come to you.
Fantastic. So let's switch gears to one of your other many roles and jobs in public speaking. Were you always a public speaker? Did you ever have to overcome that fear of speaking in public? That's a huge fear.
I
A
s-
lot of people do. A lot of people are afraid to get up in front of and speak their passion, speak their knowledge. It takes a lot to do that. So were you always just kind of gifted in speaking in crowds?
I don't think so. I don't think so. I remember my dad, God bless him. He wanted me to like preach a sermon at church or something like that. I was so nervous. I thought maybe I would vomit while I was up there speaking to people. And it's always, even if I'm singing, if I'm acting, if I'm speaking, there's always a bit of anxiety or nervousness that probably will never go away. But what I found that comfortability is to own it. If I'm nervous, I'm going to tell the people I am nervous. If I am not feeling well, I'm saying, listen, I'm going to sit down and I'm just going to be real with you. I just come to people as I am. When you are speaking from the heart, that calms all the nerves. When you're trying to perform, or when you're trying to be something that you're not, or when you're trying to just, achieve some grandiose level of speakerdom, being the grandest Toastmaster out there, not saying ums and ahs and all that shit, that's when the nerves overtake you and overwhelms you, and you don't have a great speaking engagement or anything like that, and they're not going to ask you back. But when you come with that authenticity that nobody else can take from you, nobody else can do what I do like I do. You can speak about imposter syndrome. You can speak about leadership. You can speak about anything. You can speak about women in tech. You can speak about anything that I talk about. You can actually say what I say verbatim, but you can't do me. And so when I speak, that's where it comes from. I pull from my authentic self. I'm never not going to be nervous. Oh, one thing that really helps me, I listen to Beyonce before I speak. It's crazy, but I just get all gassed up and everything like that. And I just like in my head, I'm just like, damn, I'm a badass, you know? There ain't nobody else out there with me. I gas myself up and I just go out there and I just give it all I got and I just go home.
That's so cool. I love the Beyonce thing. I'll try that next time.
You should. Formation is the one that I listen
Okay, there it is. I'm writing it down. Formation.
to.
That's gonna be in the gym in the morning and just like crushing it to Beyonce all
Yeah,
day.
yeah.
uh.
Yeah, yeah. In kind of alignment with what you're saying there, I'm sure this we can kind of go over to kind of your personal brand online, building your presence on social media and those things. Because that is one of the most essential of portraying yourself or being someone you're not in some
Hmm.
ways. Like for most people, because they try to fake it till they make it. But where have you like? Can you kind of talk about your journey on building your brand online? Because it's fantastic, like your website, your LinkedIn,
Thank
and
you.
all the different places that you do. What's that been like for you?
So it there is a method to all of the things on social media. It is very much a strategic game, and you have to be on top of all of these different things. First of all, you have to know where your people are. Um, so if my people are not on Twitter, then I'm not tweeting. If my people are not on Snapchat, I ain't snapping. But if my people are on Instagram, I'm posting on Instagram. I'm posting on Facebook. I'm posting on LinkedIn, because those are where my people are. And you'll see a consistent messaging across the board. At first, when I didn't really have a strategy, I was posting the food I ate in the morning. I was posting about my kids in the afternoon. I didn't care what time I posted, what time of day I posted, or anything like that. And also spent way too much time consuming content that it would drain me from actually creating the content. And I stopped being so much of a consumer of the content and I started producing content. And that's where that richness came from. I started using social media to learn as a tool. So if I go on TikTok, if I go on Instagram, if I go on Facebook, I'm looking at the groups. I'm looking to see what's going on. I'm looking to see what's trending. What questions are people asking? What do women want to know about? What are girls asking about? What do they want? And then I answer in my own way as a thought leader. These are the things that I'm concerned about. Women need more pay. Black women need more pay. We need more women in technology. I'm sharing articles, I'm cross posting, and I'm getting the engagement that way. I'm not so much concerned about likes or follows or anything like that, but the engagement, the questions that people ask. People slide into my DMs and say, "Oh my God, I'm so glad you said that because I didn't have the strength to say that, or I wouldn't have been bold enough to say that." So those are the things that I look at now that has helped me build a cohesive brand. So I always will have every year, every 6 months, new headshots. They're professional looking. They're high grade. I use some of the best photographers in our community. I shout them out. I love the fact that we have some really great talent in our community. I leverage those. Anything that I put out now is strategic. Even if I'm sharing about my family, there's a story behind it. And I also want people to know and be inspired by the fact that I've gotten where I've gotten, not the easy way. I've taken the windy road to get where I am. And there are a lot of people on that path as well, and they can't see their way through. But I'm here to tell them I am blazing a trail for you. There is a path to success, and you don't have to take the straight line. I'm zigzagging too. So that's kind of my story, and I interweave that in everything that I try to interweave that in everything that I do in my social presence and my websites and the blogs that I post. And so if there's any bit of advice that I can give to anybody that's building a brand, find that message. What is your message? What are you saying? And find your people and be where they're at.
Love it. So speaking of brand and your online presence, you started dipping your toes into podcasting. Is that correct? Do I understand that
Oh
correctly?
yeah.
Let's talk about your podcast. Obviously, we're a little biased. We love podcasts. So tell us a little bit about your podcast. What are you working on there? And what's your goal with that?
Absolutely. So I have a podcast called Girl, Let Me Tell You How Great You Are with my dear friend Kara Kirsch. We show up every Thursday of every not every Thursday, the first Thursday of every month. We unleash an episode and we talk about things like from business to health, financial wealth, um, all the different things that women might face. So one of our newer podcasts we just talked about is really talking about the journey that I went through to make the leap from one profession to another. So I left the corporation that I was at and took this new opportunity where I am now, and just seeing those signs of when it's time to let go, when it's time to move on, when it's time to level up. So we talk about all kinds of things. We talked about going through the ages. So I just turned 40 last year, and it was hard. It was hard. I think it's still hard. Um, but we talked about going through 20s, 30s, 40s, and she's in the 50s stage. So there's nothing that's off limits for us. We just have good conversation. Sometimes we bring guests on, but it's new, it's fun, it's exciting, and I'm really really happy with that podcast.
Before we move on, can I just say I just wanted to, you said a specific word and I thought, wow, that was powerful. You don't drop podcast episodes. You don't publish podcast episodes. You unleash them. Are you guys ready for this? Because bam, there it is. I love how you said that.
Boom.
Yes. Oh, that's so good. Love it.
Yeah, there's a certain level of intensity you do with everything, don't you, Rachel? You just,
That's right.
Unleash it upon
We
the
unleash it.
world.
yeah.
That's right. That's right. You got to be ready. You got to take a couple shots of espresso before you listen to our podcast, because you never know what's going to come out of either one of our mouths.
I'm gonna have some new rituals. I'm gonna have some espresso. I'm gonna listen to some Beyonce, and I'm just gonna
That's
crush
right.
every day. Yeah.
That's right.
That's right. Crush it. That's nothing else to do. There's no other option. You just got to crush it.
Yeah, so you've been given some just amazing advice and different points during this interview. I'm gonna have to go back and write a lot of these down, especially with the social media stuff, because that's been a big focus for us. But is there any other like big pieces of advice that you could give someone who's a potential, who's a listener who's thinking about starting their own company, or taking that leap to the next step of their lives, and what would you say to them?
Absolutely. So if you're out there and you're listening to this, or if you happen to be watching or anything like that, and you're thinking about, gosh, I want to start a business, or I want to start my own nonprofit, or you're just trying to start a podcast, a blog, or anything new, my biggest advice to you is don't wait for the perfect moment. Um, get started with what you have. You already are enough, and you have what it takes to do what it is that you're doing. If you're starting a business, make sure you're solving a problem and not just doing something that you like to do. That's going to keep you busy and successful if you're actually solving a problem. And really work on that strategy. That's one thing that I wish that I would have done ahead of time, is do a lot of that groundwork and laying the foundation of having a really good strategy and finding the one thing that I can do very well and the problem that I can solve. And it took a lot of face plants to get there. And so now I'm telling you, gather that strategy, find the one thing that you can do really well and why you're the best at it, and nobody can do it like you, even if there are 1,000 other companies that are doing the same exact thing that you're doing. You still are different, and you have to believe that you're the best. You are the best in the industry, because when you believe it, other people will believe it too. So that's with a blog, that's with a podcast, that's with a business, that's with a nonprofit organization. Find the thing that's going to make you, your mission, your purpose stand out, and when you do that, everything else is going to be better, baby.
I love it. You reminded me of a book called Be So Good They Can't Ignore You by Cal
Hmm.
Newport. And that's the whole theme of it. It's like find what your calling is and crush it. Again, I love it.
Yeah.
That's right.
So Rachel, we're getting near the end of our time, and I hope you will allow me a bit of self-indulgence to seek advice from you personally. So
Sure.
as I mentioned before, I'm a girl dad. As a father of four daughters, what can I do to immediately or quickly to encourage my children to be their true selves and to not settle for being someone they're not? I'm learning through all of the stages of being a girl how complicated social norms are. School, friendships, it's tough. And some days my kids just come home from school defeated and sad, and they're trying to discover who they are. What can I do as a dad, as a father, to encourage my daughters to find their true selves, to just live it and own it?
That is such a great question. And I'm going to step into the mama bear mode
Please
when it
do.
comes to our daughters. We live in a world, in a society where we are told with so many messages what we should be, how we should act, what types of things we should like. If we're a girl, we should like dolls. If we're a girl, we should be a princess. If we're a girl, we should be a teacher. If we're a girl, we should be a nurse. I wish that I had somebody to come alongside me and say, you can be a coder, you can be an architect, you can be an engineer, you can be a pilot, you can be anything that you want to be. You don't have to play with dolls, because a doll doesn't define you. And you can allow your daughters to color outside the lines, to find what works for them. And sometimes that goes against what we might think is the norm. And it might rub us a little bit as parents if they pick up a tool versus a fairy wand, but let them pick that tool up. Have have those, take down those barriers that we put up as, no, that's not for you. Mm-mm. And say, you know what, let's dig into that a little bit more. Because when they find that empowerment, especially from fathers, they're going to be so much more comfortable in finding out who they want to be. And so, my advice to you as a dad, as a girl dad, is to cheer them on. Whether you're, carrying them to their next robotics competition, helping them, figure out what they want to do, if they want to go to a welding class, hell, if they want to go throw an axe, um, encourage them to do just that, and to break outside of those different quote unquote norms, and to say, what is it that you want, what is it that you want to be. and don't care about what anybody else says or thinks. And sometimes encourage them to come off of social media if they're in it and engulfed in it, and take them out and show them the what the world has for them. Expose them to things that aren't normal for girls to be exposed to, and see what happens. Take them to a VR place and see what types of sparks fly for them. And you're probably are a great dad. um, but those are some of the things that I wish that I would have had when I was growing up, and I have an awesome father. But sometimes we get so stereotyped into a specific role because we're a certain gender that we get cut off from other opportunities that we might have.
Powerful message. Thank you so much. That I appreciate the input. That's you have a strong message, and the way you share it is just wonderful. So thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah. So, yeah, we can kind of finish off of that because that was like a really good final piece of advice there. Is where can people find you online, and is there anything you kind of want to promote that's going on right now?
Um, you can find me on all social media platforms, Rachel D. Fox. That's how you can find me. I'm on pretty much all social media platforms. I'm really not active on Snapchat. I'm only on TikTok just for research purposes only. But you can also go to my website, racheldfox.com. You can reach me there. I'm really accessible, so there's no place that you can't reach me. You can find my book on any place that books are sold: walmart.com, Barnes& and Noble, Books A Million, Amazon. It's there, and I'm super proud of that. And so, yeah, so find me, follow me, friend me, bother me. I won't bite.
Yeah.
And we will link all of that in our show notes. Absolutely, your book, your socials, and you know what? I'm gonna make a note, and when that new book comes out, we're gonna plug that as well, because it's so cool to see all you've accomplished. But
Thank you.
thank you so much for coming on. This has been a phenomenal hour. I feel like I've learned so much. And Rachel, we're in the same town. Let's get together. Let's go for a drink or something.
Hey, you know what? I love having coffee dates. Tanner will
Love
tell
it.
you.
Do
Hmm.
it.
So hit me up. Let's
All
do it.
right. All right. Well, Tanner, what else you got for us? Sign us off, bud.
Yeah, no, I think that's a great ending point. For everyone who listened, we'd like to thank you so much. Please check out Rachel's stuff, add her on social media, follow her, buy her book, do all those things. If you haven't already, subscribe to our podcast, subscribe to her podcast, and just keep listening. So we will see everybody next week. Bye.
Bye.